right, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, and fishing accomplices, good morning and welcome back to Fishing. So it is November 2nd, 2024, and it is a Saturday, and we're going to try and make some good fishing happen. We are on the western Long Island Sound, and there's a lot of potential for things that can happen today. Primary target being blackfish, though sea bass is certainly an option as well as perhaps porgies. But yeah, this particular area I'm fishing I've never actually gone to before. I've never really noticed a ton of boats, so it looks like really good bottom. Maybe not as dramatic as some of the stuff, as I've been saying, that a lot of boats flock to, but it definitely looks worth an investigation for me. So that is what I would like to see as we get out there. We're gonna be fishing green crabs on jigs. We do have some rigs as well if we decide to fish some deeper stuff. I got my anchor good to go. I had to jankily add some line to it because last time I was fishing I lost a lot of line. I've ordered some more, but unfortunately it's gonna take a little while to get here, and I just didn't have time to get it yesterday or since the last video. So I'm hoping we can make it work, but I think the fish should be fired enough that even if we can't anchor, we can make something happen. But fingers crossed, anchor works out well. So that is what I have for you, and thank you for staying tuned, because it's time to get some fishing accomplished. Okay, so we just did a little bit of a hike, and we're up on the first spot I'm trying at. And before I anchor, I just want to know that there's a good amount of life here. So we're not super deep, about 23 feet. Tide is dead low coming in. I'm just going to see if there's any life here. Like, I will anchor, make no mistake, but I don't have a ton of line. I've only got 2 anchors, and if I lose one, I don't know that I'll have enough line to anchor again in anything above 20 feet. So let's see what we can do. Just drifting. Not ideal, but I have a really good feeling about this spot. Like, this area I've never fished before. It's exciting. There's a lot of good bottom, and definitely, hopefully no shortage of fish hanging out here. That's a good start. Definite tog. Not bad. Nice hen. Nice hen. Okay, new rock. Let's see what's on this one. Last one had plenty of fish, just a lot of small stuff, so let's see if the quality's any better here. If we find some better fish, I'll anchor. That's a good one. That's good fish. Yeah, I knew this rock would hold something good, as long as it's not picked off. That's a nice hen. That's a legal one. That's alright, I wasn't going to keep him anyways. We'll just call that one 16. Okay, we just got our first legal or legal adjacent fish, just drifting. And this spot, this particular rock did stick out to me on the way here. It definitely is much larger than the ones around it, and there's a lot around it, so we're going to get right up on top of it and anchor. So I have a feeling there's some good stuff on this. Got a very janky rope setup, so I'm hoping it holds. Got kind of an odd drift, wind crossing the tide. Just get a little bit ahead of it, and then we're going to drop her down. think we hit it just right. Yeah, right next to the rock. Cool. All right, anchored up. Let's see how we do. We're slightly off the structure. We were on it pretty good. We kind of drifted a little bit or swung, but we're still close. So let's see what we can do. It's up to a 3/4 ounce jig head. Tide is moving, so hold bottom a little better. It's not a bad one. Almost keeper. Yeah, so we're in a new spot right now. I was going to explore a bit, but this wind really cranked up pretty fast, so we're going to have to kind of hang around here. This might be as far as I go today. If it gets much worse, I'm going to have to head back in, but try here while we can fish. Definitely some better ones over here. That's a legal one. That's a legal one. Nice fish. Oh! Very nice fish. Nice keeper tug. Nice male. Not bad. Such cool colors. At least we're not going home empty-handed if we do get blown out. That's a male too, so that's what do we do want to see. Perfect. Well, I guess I was right. This area definitely holds some nice fish. Just, are we going to be able to fish it the way we want today? We will while we can. Got to know our limits, though. Got to know our limits before we catch a limit. Jeez. That's another nice one. Maybe not that nice, but not bad. Not bad. It's close. It's like a 15-incher. I'd say probably even like 15 and a half. Not legal though. Well, despite the wind, we definitely found some better sized fish in this spot. We can't really move too far with this wind. It's kind of going and coming off and on, but in the meantime, I think it's time to stop and reassess. And with the better fishing, I'm hoping for some better seltzer. This one I meant to do in the last video, but I wasn't feeling super 100%, especially with my taste. Now, however, I definitely can taste things better. So we have Cloud Water, Daily Defense, Grapefruit, Mint, Basil. What a trio. But do they work? That is a very strange arrangement of flavors. Yeah, so what really stands out for me, and again, I'm not 100% off this cold, but the grapefruit, yes, it's like a sweeter grapefruit. And then you're like smacked over the head with the mint. There is some sugar, it appears, in this, but it's real sugar, so that's kind of nice. So 30 calories a can. I actually kind of like this. This is a nice little, pleasant pick-me-up, very unique. So I'm going to give this an 8.5. Pretty good. And I'm hoping this is the turning point where things get pretty good with the fishing. So let's keep it moving. All right, well, between that keeper and the wind, we're definitely going to hunker down here for a little bit and see if we can get some good fish. Gotten a few nice, short tog, very close to keeper size. So had males too, which is usually good. Tend to find that means, the males are typically larger. So if you're catching males in the spot, I tend to think that keepers, that is, the spot hasn't been hit super hard, at least not recently. So let's see if we can pull a few more. There's a lot of bottom to work here, so let's see what we can do. No doubt. Good fish. Yeah, that's number 2. Nice hearty male. Like a cookie cutter, the last one. Maybe a little bigger, actually, now that I look at them. I wouldn't say too big, though. I don't even know if it's as long, it's just much fatter, I think. This one's more like 18.5. So yeah, that's a good one. Good number 2. Sure, I'm backlit as sin, but sure. Slowed down a little since getting that bigger one. It hasn't been that long, but definitely not getting the quality as before and not as many fast hits. So I'm gonna go through a few more pieces of crab, and if it doesn't heat up or we get something bigger, we're gonna move. Okay, a lot of small stuff. And the bite slowed down the last spot, so we made an adjustment, and this spot I have pretty good confidence in. Should definitely be something going on here. Questions if we can get some more nice ones. Took a couple tries to get that anchor right, but I think we're on it now. Instant. That's better. I don't know if he's good. That's not a bad fish. And that's the limit. We can get them. However, this one is a female. It's another nice fish. I didn't really want to keep it anyways. For the male at this point, we got 2 keepers. We got time. Yeah, so I fished for quite a while longer after getting that fish. I just, nice enough day out, and while the wind did jack up from time to time, it ultimately did stabilize more often than not. And I didn't want to work too far from this area just because I didn't want to, have the wind increase rapidly on me and be too far out and get myself into a problem. But I did basically just kind of hunker down around this general larger area to see if I can find some better sized fish. And I did find some that were, borderline keepers, but nothing like those first 2 that I got, but, some decent fish. So I'm going to omit a lot of the shorts from this video, much like I already have been doing, just for the sake of keeping this at a somewhat reasonable length, the length of the video, that is. Oh, good fish. Barely even filled him on. He's not that good. Not that bad, though. It's close. Might be my number 3. I might just end it with him. Close. As I like to say, if he's touching it, but if you smush him, so I'll call him a keeper, but he's going back. He's a little too close. But if he's here, there should be some better ones. Oh, man, that's a good one. That's a good one. Might be fouled. That's fouled. Had me going for a second. Not a bad one. It's close. Okay, well that's it. Another one in the books. Pretty good day of fishing. A lot of small fish, but we did get some nice ones. We kept the 2, and Probably got another 2 or 3 that were borderline keepers, you know, maybe even over some of those females, but I just wasn't looking to really keep a female fish today. Didn't really need to. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, this is a new spot for me. I mean, I've launched from this area, but fishing this particular, you know, piece was brand new. The real thing was the wind, having to navigate around that. Had it been a little bit more predictable, I might have ventured out a bit further, but with the way it was, sometimes it really ratcheted up. I didn't want to get myself into trouble, so we kind of played it safe and just fished that one area, and really, we were really thorough with it too, which is interesting. You know, it's definitely an area that I'll keep in mind in the future. And I'd fish it again, though I'm not sure it's quite as productive as some of the other spots that I fished this year. But I think the big kicker would have been if I could have pushed out a little bit further. Yeah, pretty fun overall. Happy to keep bringing fish home, because we're not going to be getting much more after we get through mid-November into December at the latest. So always a good time. Okay, so welcome back to the kitchen. I figured I would make something a little different just so this wouldn't be the same thing over and over again. I know I'm doing a lot of tog fishing, and certainly there are many types of fishing I like to do, but, you know, fall in the Sound really is about tog fishing, particularly in the western side. So, yeah, I'm making some stew or soup, whatever you want to call it, and I'm actually breaking this down into 2 steps. The first thing we're doing here is making some fish stock. So pretty straightforward, nothing too difficult, but one thing I decided to do was to hold on to the carcasses of the fish. So certainly have to get things ready. Right now I'm getting things going with some butter and olive oil. Yeah, so I decided to make this in the morning on a Sunday, so I was lacking a few of the resources I was hoping to have, but I made do. So we have a diced onion and 3 cloves of garlic that I'm adding. Next, I had a little bit of time left over. Gosh, I must have had this stuff for years, and I used it up on this. And just, you know, simmered them all down in the olive oil and butter and got them mixed together. After letting all that heat up for a bit, I then took the carcasses from the blackfish that I got in this trip. I gutted them, rinsed them, got all the gills out, all the guts out, etc. And basically just put everything else in there. So, you know, the carcasses, the heads, left the eyes in, teeth, bones, etc. And basically just got those, you know, I cleaned them off pretty thoroughly and just kind of mixed them in so they'd be fully, you know, immersed into the garlic, onion, and oil, and stirred them around a bit. And once they were like thoroughly in there, I covered it and left them in there for about 7 or 8 minutes. Yeah, so from here, this is where you can tell I need to go to the grocery store. I didn't have white wine, which I wanted, so I used a little white wine vinegar and some red wine. Not a lot. A bay leaf, salt and pepper. Obviously, I have plenty of that. Really grinded a lot of pepper. Peppercorns apparently would have been better, but I didn't have whole ones, and I didn't want to break this, you know, non-reusable one. I did not have parsley, but I did have cilantro, and I had some baby carrots, so I threw those in there too, just for good measure, just to add some vegetable, you know. Eventually, I did throw some broccoli in there as well, as I did get some of that prep for something else. Then finally, topping all this off with about 1.5 liters of water boiling from our kettle. And then from there, letting this sit for probably about 90 minutes, maybe a little bit less as we had some things going on to take care of. But yeah, once that was done, you had something that looked a little bit like this. Yeah, so obviously it doesn't look that appetizing there. So the next step is to get all of the solid stuff separated from the liquid. So we're using a very fine strainer, just pouring everything into it, or as much as I possibly can with this janky arrangement. There we go, getting every last bit of the stock out. And ultimately, this is what you are left with. There is your stock. It's a very good amount, probably more than I even need. In fact, I know it's more than I need. That's the solid. That's the liquid. It smells delicious. Let's move on to making the actual stew. Okay, now for the stew making portion. Right now I'm flashing all of the ingredients on the screen. At this point, I did get the chance to go to the grocery store and have all the appropriate things. I just wanted to make sure the stock was made in the morning. I didn't want to just basically be cooking all afternoon. With the fish stock, 1.5 quarts, I used one of those big containers and then one small one. So I know that obviously that's more than 1.5 quarts. But yeah, it's a matter of how much you want to make. I thought this turned out really well. It had a lot of flavor, and it was not terribly difficult to make. The biggest thing was just lining up all the ingredients, which none of them really were all that expensive or, things you wouldn't have on hand. So let's jump into it. This was a good one. Yeah, so pretty straightforward. We got the olive oil heating up in the pot, and we're basically just going to add the ingredients one by one to start. So let's go with the onions first, just getting them heated up until they're starting to be a little translucent. Afterwards, not too long after, we're going to add the garlic, get that going. Same deal, get that going, cooking, start to release some of its flavor and oils, and then stir it up. And then shortly after this, we will throw the celery in there. And again, just keeping that pot nice and hot, cooking everything through so it's not raw, just kind of one by one, getting them going. And yeah, turned out pretty well, pretty easy. Afterwards, we're going to add the parsley, and that'll really start to move things along. After the parsley, we then add the tomato, and this is where it actually gets to sit for a little bit. So first, just thoroughly, we're going to stir it in and add the tomato paste, about half a can, so I'd say about 3 ounces. Just mix everything up, and this is where it starts to become more stew-like, because once it's thoroughly mixed, I covered it and let this sit for about 10 minutes. And while this was happening, this is the one ingredient I didn't list in the beginning. We have obviously the fish. This is just one of the blackfish from this particular outing. So I did include also the cheeks from both, plus some of the scrapings that I missed because I kind of maybe did a shoddy job cleaning them, or shoddier job than usual. So I'd say this is about 1.5 pounds of meat, give or take, maybe a little bit less. But we're just cutting into like 2-inch cubes. And the nice thing about Blackfish, it's very firm. So this is what the pot looked like after 10 minutes of sitting. You can see it's really starting to break down. And from here, we're going to start to add the fish stock. So we have the smaller quart, very gelatinous as it's been sitting in the fridge. And I'll also, stir it up so it liquefies. It won't look that nasty for long. Got the larger one, so again, 1.5 quart. And just thoroughly adding this to the tomato mixture that we've created. And finally, we've got our white wine, which we wish we had in the morning. And we're just going to add a generous amount of that. That's about good. Well, let's add a bit more. Why not? Really add that flavor. And just taste it for quality, because why not? Next, we add the potatoes. I'm going to let these sit in there for at least 15 minutes cooking on, relatively high, because I want to make sure these things aren't raw. We want them cooked through. We don't want crunchy potatoes. And then once that is done, 15 minutes later, we're finally going to add the fish. And this doesn't need to be in there too long. I'd say for Blackfish, since it is on the thicker side, I started at 10 minutes, but I think I gave it an extra 5 just to make sure it was fully cooked through. It's perfectly fine. It's not going to stay in cubes. It's going to break down a bit, which is perfectly fine for what we're looking for. Finally, after our 10 to 15 minutes of the fish sitting and cooking, I'm adding all my spices. And as I said in the beginning, definitely, well, for me, go generous with this. Don't hold back, especially with how much I ended up making. I definitely wanted to add quite a bit. I can't give you exact amounts, but it's really a preference. For me, I wanted a lot of flavors, so added quite a bit: salt, pepper, oregano, thyme, etc., and hot sauce. And ultimately, what we were left with was very delicious. You will see in a sec that I am trying it. And I will say I didn't include sound in this just because there was a lot of background noise, so I decided to cut all the commentary and just add it after the fact. But it turned out really, really good. Very mealy, adding the potatoes and some of the other ingredients. And this was a very filling and rewarding meal after all the fishing, of course. So ultimately, this is how it looked at the end, and I think it was definitely a worthwhile venture. So feel free to check this one out. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye from fishing.